Well, good morning to everyone who might be tuning in. I just really want to talk about why do some people just take kindness for weakness? Like people that swear up and down they got your back, they got your best interest at heart. You do things for people hoping that they would be or think the same way that you do, but majority of the people don't. And so as I get older, I'm understanding really just how to start treating people accordingly. And when I say treating them accordingly, I don't mean like being rude to a person that really just isn't in the season that you're in anymore. Because that's not what God asks us to do. He doesn't want us to be rude and on purpose evil to people. But there are certain people that we have to learn how to just, how would I say it? You can't let just all people just suck you dry of your energy and just your power. Because some people, whether it be purposely or not purposely, they just do that to you. There's some cousins that hey, I can't be around more than a couple of days because I'm going to start getting into just an irritated, grumpy, just, I'm not going to be right because they just suck every bit of just tolerance of how do you love just what seems so ignorant sometimes. But I'm sure I do a lot of things that people think are real ignorant too because we're different. All people are different. That's why I think it's good to set healthy boundaries and to just love yourself enough that when you set boundaries and rules for yourself, not to let people allow you to bend or break those rules. Because evidently you set the rules in place for a reason. I was kind of a late bloomer. I was in like my late 30s, I guess, early 40s, before I really knew what boundaries are because the way I was raised is just like you're a team player. Hey, if one person is kind of not keeping up, then you pull their slack if that's what it takes to win the game. That's just how teams operate. But that's really not how life operates. And people aren't always going to just think the way that you think or want to do things the way that you do them. But that's why my grandma told me you keep your own things, like your own casa, your own home, your own, just space that you have that's yours, and then can't nobody take that from you because that's where you energize. That's where you like kind of plug yourself in and get your rest and are able to just wake up with enough reprieve to sustain you through the day, you know. But bright and early, people try to set a person like me off because when I'm good to a person, especially if I'm good to you by opening my door to you, which I very rarely don't like to do because I'm a married woman who doesn't need a whole bunch of company. But when I open my door to somebody and I let them know the rules that are set in my house, and then they think like when you take off to do something that they might get a break to do some shit that they know they're not supposed to do because that's going against your rules of what you set for your household, then it's like kind of sad, but hey, you got to go. Period. It's just how it is because I'm not going to lose anything that by the grace of God I've been able to achieve and build. It's nothing I did but follow instructions and be obedient. And it wasn't that easy sometimes because I want what I want to. I want to be able to go do whatever I want to do sometimes too, but it's not about what I want to do. It's about what needs to be done for the greater good of the kingdom of God, period. And so me, I say all the time that my greatest problem is people, places, and things because people, places, and things just always have me so irritated, because when I go into a place, I really go in there loving just in general because that's just my nature. But people will always take your love and they'll want to twist it and they'll make it fit into their little weird box or group. And then all of a sudden they're putting words in your mouth, or because you might have used a hand gesture or did something of that nature, then you're being irate. I mean, we can just go on and on and on and on about people's opinion and what they thought they heard or what they thought you said. And it's like at the end of the day, I know what I said because I said it. So if you took it or you perceived it that way, as if that's what I was trying to say to you, then I'm so sorry because it wasn't. But most people don't understand just me anyways in general. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm really way past the point of having to have a whole bunch of friends. I don't really care. I don't care if a person likes me. I pray for them still. I don't care if they want to be around me. Hey, I won't damper your parade. That's why I stay my ass at home. But when you have, a good heart and you allow people to come into your home and they can't just like abide by simple things that you ask of them, then it is not your obligation to let that shit slide. Because that is how I've come to find out you will end up like so far off the map and backslidden into things that you knew better. Because deep down inside, you will get prompted. God always prompts us and lets us know, no, no, you should be doing that. Now, whether you choose to take your self will back into your own hands is on you. But at the end of the day, be woman or man enough to hold yourself accountable on where you might have fucked yourself out of a blessing. Because, hey, I've done it several times in my life with my mouth, not knowing how to just shut up and see that this is a blessing and it might be a stepping stone that I need to get to where I'm going without having to put myself in the lion's mouth, or I call the devil's abyss of his playground. And I'm very, ignorant sometimes, depending on a lot of times if I've been drinking, the amount of what I've been drinking, and if I'm caught up in my feelings and how I feel in my emotions, because hey, I'm only human, and sometimes I can get real just childish and like throw a little tantrum because I feel as if it didn't go my way, but was going my way, doing anything that God had called me or put me in that room to do. That is what I am starting to have to ask myself, and it's helping me to learn how to pick and choose my battles on really who should I really trust. I think I would have to say I should trust God before I do man. But if I'm honest with myself, what have I trusted, even when hearing God tell me to do something totally different? So then what I chose to do was now create somebody, a person, a place, or a thing now became my God. It was like that when I was, addicted to crack. Same thing. You understand what I'm saying? That crack pipe became my God. But by the grace of God, I haven't smoked crack in over 15 years. So hallelujah. Thank you. He does give an opportunity, if you're willing to take it, to get a chance at redemption and to actually make a mark and do something for the greater good of his kingdom, not for the world, because we are in this world, but we're not of it. And we are all supposed to be a light that shines in this fallen and darkened world. And that's what I choose to try to be every day. Sometimes I fall short. Sometimes I don't. It's really just about, just the timing, because really everything's around timing. That's why they say God's time is not your time, because sometimes I think as an adult, I'll psych myself out and try to basically just psych myself out of not having to do something God's asked me to do, because I'll come up with every rationalization and try to reason with my own thoughts of why I can't or why it won't work or whatever. But if God has asked you to do something, basically just follow what he's asking you to do, because it's going to pan out for your glory. It's going to pan out for his glory, actually, first and foremost, but it's going to be for your good, because God never asked us to do things that we cannot do. And he never asks us to just overdo things. I'm one of those people that have a problem with that too. I'll overextend myself. And then when I find myself getting mad because it seems like I'm working my ass to death and nobody else is doing anything but enjoying a party, then yeah, I'll start to become like a little kid throwing a tantrum. Oh, I'm doing all the work. Almost like that one scripture that they talk about in the Bible where Mary and Margaret, her sister, are like getting the house prepared for Jesus. And it seems like Jesus shows up and Mary's just so in tune to Jesus. And Margaret's running around trying to cater and host for this, gathering, when really she didn't realize you're missing out on the moment though. He's right here. Everything should have stopped so that you could have got taught and fed by this man. But instead of doing that, she was worrying about catering to him. See, we're not going to get into heaven by our works, especially not when they're works of the flesh. Okay. Now, I believe sometimes that, yes, we might have a little bit better karma if we're really just being in obedience with God. But sometimes God wants you to walk through a dark situation because your testimony is going to be what glorifies him, not because he wants you to suffer, and I just think that sometimes as a person, let me use my I statements, because I know nobody could possibly relate to what I'm talking about, right? I say that being really funny because nobody wants to really talk about their black ass, white ass, whatever color ass, just their ass. Nobody wants to be the person in the hot spot. But hey, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care about what I've done in my life. I have no regrets, and I'm really not one of the people that should be talking about the word of God, at least most people would say, because heaven forbid, I used to just pop my ass for a living. So who am I to talk about Jesus, right? Because I couldn't possibly know him with just what it appears my lifestyle is. But like I tell people, how dare you open up your mouth to tell somebody about their relationship with their God? That is kind of rude, and it is not your place to do that. It is not your place to try to force somebody into believing the God that you believe in if they don't. It is your job to be just a light for them to look at you and be like, dang, I remember her when she was like this, and look at her now. So I know if she can do it, I can do it. That is what we're put on this earth to do, to be role models for the next generation. And I just believe that like there's a lot of things that we need to be working on. This world is just fallen, like it's becoming really scary. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure I'm on the right side of the sidewalk with the right people. And I don't want to deceive myself by buying the BS that everybody is selling me because, hey, they love me so much, but they can't even abide by simple rules that were asked of them when you're opening up your door for them. That doesn't make sense to me. That just seems like people that take kindness for weakness and think that I have all day sucker without a wrapper written on my forehead, and I don't. And like, I don't like when I feel this way though, to a certain extent, because I battle with anger issues. And then it's like when I feel like people are taking my kindness for weakness and just thinking I'm some punk, or like that they're just getting over, or they're doing some slick shit because I wasn't home to notice that they left. Like that still makes me just like so lividly mad. And it's like, as much as I love to help you, I can't help you because you will be something that will end up destroying things that I built. And not that I built it, the Lord helped me and allowed me to build it, and he allowed me to build it to help other people. But not when you don't want to abide by rules, because at the end of the day, we serve a God of order. He has rules as well. There are times that God himself has, yes, let man be able to bend and manipulate the rules, but that was for his greater good, for his will to be done, not ours. It seems like we're always wanting to bend things and break things so that we can get away with something. And that is not really taking into consideration the person that is really being that cornerstone or that stepping stone for you. God uses people as vessels. Sometimes we don't like it, and sometimes it's really crazy. It's like, okay, I'll give you a prime example. I have a niece who I love to death, and she knows I love her to death. And she knows what I'm about to talk about, her home. Because not that my niece is not a clean person. My niece has 4 children that really just think mommy's supposed to pick up constantly behind them, even though they're of age now to start doing things themselves. She's a single parent, so she works a lot of the time. And her oldest child is basically the one who looks out for the younger children. So when you have sometimes that type of scenario, it's hard sometimes for a woman just to keep up with her housely chores. I mean, you could be superwoman and it would still be hard. Okay. But then like I live in Vegas, so here we battle with a lot of different type of bugs, from roaches to just termites, all different types of just scorpions, just bugs, okay, in general. And I don't care how clean you are, you still might see a roach in your house just because this is Las Vegas, Nevada, and they come from outside and they come from everywhere, and they don't have to travel or be there because you're dirty. Sometimes you can move in an apartment that was just already infested with them, and so you can't get rid of them. And that's kind of what happened with my niece. And so now she has a very big issue with these bugs, okay? And I'm really not bug friendly, but at the same time, I will do what I need to do to get rid of the problem. So she's always calling me to like come and help her with the extermination and the cleaning of her house, right? And I get so upset sometimes because it's like, Brittany, you're going to have to remember one day I'm not going to be here. Then who's going to do it? You have to sometimes in life do things that you don't feel like doing and you don't want to do, but they have to be done. So I was finishing this story. So I had to go and stay with my niece for a minute during a transition of moving from my apartment to my other apartment. I had to stay with her for like a month. And I cannot deal with just like bugs everywhere. I just can't. But you know what? I did. Because you want to know why? I was smart enough to sit still long enough to know that if I ran myself out of my niece's house into that world, that I was going to end up doing something I would regret later. Fuck, I probably might have picked up a crack pipe and started smoking dope again. Who knows? But with my anger issues at that time and everything that was going on with me at that time, I was so mad. I was just, me and my niece are hooping and hollering and yelling. And I'm just like, and I'm going off and going off. And like, I'm outside and I want to like run off. But it's like, my spirit is telling me, Jasmine, you've already been down that road. Why are you looking back and going back? You've been there before. You know what happens, Jasmine, when you clean out your house and you think you got everything all together and spiffy. If not careful, there will go you again. And that demon that sat outside of your emptied house that was all cleaned up and boarded up, basically, but he could still look in the window looking at you like, yeah, I'm coming back to get you. I'll be right back. And I got 7 more of these demons with me, too, to come in there. So we're going to help get control of you for real this time. No. Sometimes you have to sit still and humble yourself under the mighty hand of God and realize that sometimes even situations that you feel that you can't stand, if you're there, God has you there for a reason and you can deal with it. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my God and I'm like, oh my God, how could you forsake me? You promised me this and you told me this and I listened to what you said. And I'm just like reading God my rights. Or I thought I was reading him my rights. And that's just like what we get. Kind of like Job. God will sit there and talk to you like, dude, are you listening to yourself? Do you hear what you're saying? Because as I'm telling God all of this and I'm like, and God, I'm homeless again. God said, Jazz, you're not homeless. You're at Brittany's house. I swear to gosh, as clear as day, I heard God tell me that. Like, Jasmine, stop it. You're not homeless. You're not in a park somewhere laying on grass. You're at Brittany's house. And I said to myself, but God, oh my gosh, the bugs. And he says, Jasmine, how do you not know that I don't have you there to help her to learn something? Life is all about the process. It's about growing. It's about chipping off some of what you thought you knew up off of you. Because really, at the end of the day, we don't know shit. And we probably won't know until we arrive and meet Jesus. Okay? My personal opinion. But hey, to each their own. You know what I'm saying? I just want people to understand that don't take people's kindness for weakness. When you see a person being good to you, don't feel as if now you can shit all over their head or you can try to on purpose just feel as if you're entitled to this type of goodness, because you're not. And a person doesn't have to be good to you. And a person doesn't have to help you because you went and got your life in a big old mess. That is not that person's problem. But when you're kind of, a believer in God and just his kingdom, then you kind of like want to help people with their problems because that's what God created us to do. And so it just sucks sometimes when you care for people, but you have to distance yourself or cut them off because they just don't want to follow rules. And hey, it's shitty, but it's clean. But I can relate because I've had a lot of doors sometimes closed because I thought I didn't have to follow the rules, or I thought I could break the rule and still get a pass and run some good game on them and let them know this is why. No, that's not why, because there was rules to this shit. When you started out on your journey of life, there are still rules that God has set in place and things that we can and can't do. And, I feel like if sometimes that's why we just have, nowadays people dying younger than they usually would, because we have people running out, making split decision choices, not even thinking and weighing their pros and cons about what it could really affect. So, like I said, and D, this is for you. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I helped as much as I can, but like really, I'm not going against the rules that I'm setting in my life for 2024. I told you I'm putting on a new garment, whether people want to believe it or not, and I don't care what they believe because they will watch me walk it out. Okay, and I'm not letting anybody hold me back. If a person can't respect just little things, especially when I'm helping them, then I'm so sorry. You can call me whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me again when you need something, but you can, and you probably will, because that's just the way that God does things. I get a lot of clarity through people who swore up and down I was so crazy and they were never, ever, ever going to talk to me or call me. And God called me probably everything but a child of God on top of it. But every time they call, I still come and I love them and I still be me. And hey, if you're on some weirdo shit, I'm going to tell you about your weirdo ass at that time. No disrespect. I would hope that you would respect that, because that's what people had to do for me to start to wake up and grow up. And did it feel good during that process? No, it didn't. But you know what? Every single person that told me some real things that really checked me when I was out there running around acting like a zip damn fool, smoking dope like a choo-choo train, I thank those people. If anybody's watching that knows me, I thank you for the times that you really told me about myself. because it helped me to grow up, and it helped me also to become the woman I am today. So I have no regrets. And I just wish that sometimes people would really look at what a person is bringing to the table instead of always trying to tell a person is trying to tell them something. Because I don't think I can tell anybody anything. And I can't walk a day in a person's shoes. It might weigh me down. I might drown, you know. But I know for sure the things that I do on a daily basis. So when people go to tell me about myself or want to tell me what I had intended when I did something that they probably took a total wrong way, or maybe I used words that probably weren't the right choice of words. You know, it's just called a wrong perception of what I was presenting. But basically, at the end of the day, it doesn't make me feel any not less hurt that you've taken what I meant to say, or you've taken a good gesture or a good thing I'm doing and you've twisted it around so that it fit your fucking agenda. I don't like that. Excuse my language. I am still working on my mouth. I really am. But like, I get so frustrated because at the end of the day, if you don't like those people or you don't have anything good to say to those people, then why do you always end up going back to those people? Is it just because you know you can count on that person? Or is it because really at the end of the day, you do need that person? Because we all need somebody. We all really need Jesus. But after him, we're still going to need a person. You know, God uses people a lot of times as a vessel that he will bring your curses or your blessings upon you. And, you know, sometimes that just depends on if you let that person in at that time. Because if you set a rule for yourself, such like I am having to set a rule, a person can no longer be at my house. I probably don't even want him coming by for a while. Then you have to follow that shit all the way out. And it's not because he's a bad person. It's just because you didn't follow the rules that were set in place for my safety of the things that I've built. Because this is still my tent. And it's just like you have to do that. I feel like that's why Abraham and Lot had to separate. Because just things weren't, you know, the animals, there was not enough places for them to all graze and eat. And people are arguing and bickering because just like everybody needs their space. But I'm sure before separating, the rules that were in place there in Abraham's tent and Lot's tent, they stayed being abided by. Because if not, they would have had way more arguing and just stuff than they did before the animals couldn't have enough food to eat because there was not enough land and just enough space. You know, I don't know. I look at things like even the Bible in a metaphoric way. That's why I love the parables that Jesus talks about all the time, because really, if you can understand them, then you understand exactly what he was telling you. You know, life is not about, oh, this person's a good person, but that person's not, or this person's in my group, but that person's not. It's about loving people, but it's not saying in loving people, let them people come and disrupt your peace, you know, like, and I just think that people should remember, like, before you go to just like talking and like, you know, making it seem as if this person was so wrong, what was the offense that occurred that made you get put out, that makes you now feel that this person is so wrong? You know what I'm saying? Because did you tell the whole truth? Because if you would have told the whole truth, then you would have seen where you broke one of the rules that were set in place from the time you were able to go into somebody else's home. And those are the things that I said, like, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with people thinking that they can just do what they want to do because I'm not home, and they just think that they might get away with some shit, because that's not going to work. Because whether you want to believe it or not, there's always somebody watching you. Nowadays, we just have neighbors that just for no reason at all, because they have nothing better to do, will like to just complain to HOAs, and just like, I don't have time for that in my life. So if I'm going to get put out of somewhere that I know that I pay the bills at, and my husband, then guess what? It will be me and my husband that get us put out of there, not anybody else. And at the end of the day, I don't need anybody to help me to run my tent. I'm a big girl. I've been taking care of me for a long time with the help of my God. And he has been so faithful to me, even though I have been faithless at times to him. Okay. He has never left me nor forsaken me. And I am not going to let things that he has told me to do be bent or broken because you're so-called the homie or the homegirl. I'm not going to do it. Because I don't remember the homegirl or the homeboy being there when I was doing all the footwork to do what I needed to do to start to build. I don't remember them helping me get any wood. I don't remember them helping me chop any wood. I don't even remember them helping me build a fire, okay? But hey, a hell of a lot of them were allowed to come and sit around the warm fucking fire, excuse my language, and get some warmth into their cold bodies because we're homeless. This is the things that I'm not going to do anymore because I'm just not that young lady I used to be. And there are certain boundaries and certain things I've set for myself. Another issue I have is people that, hey, I don't knock anybody for their hustle. If boosting from stores is your thing, hey, let it be your thing. I have a lot of boosters that I go and get half price deals on. So I can't act like there's big eyes and little U's here. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you're with a person that's so-called your homie and they have you in a situation where they're going into a place to take something that they know does not belong to them and they do not want to purchase it, they want to just take it, whether it's from a person or a store, let me know what you're doing so therefore I can be accountable for how I'm going to play my role. I'm not going to sit there and tell you don't steal, don't do whatever, but I'm sure not going to walk in the store with you and be talking to you as if I knew you, because guess what that makes me? Guilty by association. Okay. And it just pisses me off because that's another scenario I had with a very good friend of mine. And we're just like beefing. She won't even return my text message right now, but she's like a sister to me, supposedly. Or is it when a person really, really that cares about you tells you something that really you don't want to hear? And I know you don't want to hear it because guess what? I didn't want to hear it when people were telling me how I look like a crackhead, smoked out bitch that didn't give a fuck about her kid and was running around with her kid in CPS smoking dope. I didn't want to hear that shit either. It hurt. It sure did. But you know what? It helped me reboot. It helped me get up, get off my ass, and it helped me to go get my kid as well. That is the difference between people that talk about it and people that really walk it out. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I'm a woman that runs my jaws. I don't run my mouth. And I'm not going to say something or say I'm going to do something if I'm not going to do it. Because then why even say you're going to do it? I will say I'm a procrastinator, and sometimes it takes me a little while to get it. But other than that, I'm going to walk it out if I keep on living. And there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that but death or the penitentiary. And knock on wood, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. But I sure don't plan on becoming a miserable old person because I've ran my body to an epiphany that I'm having health issues when I'm young. Or, well, people call young. I don't call 42 so young anymore. But, I've done a lot of damage to just my body. I have issues with my body and just like my feet especially. So that makes it harder for me to like even want to just be talking to people. And then people wonder why sometimes. Well, did you inquire? Did you even ask me how my day was going before you just started going off on all the things that you needed? And people just think like I'd be so just like bluntly rude when I tell people like, no, because no, you're bluntly rude and you don't understand. I'm stopping everything I'm doing in my life to assist to help you. And I don't have to. I choose to. Because I choose to try to love you with all the love of the Lord. But don't make me turn into the psycho crazy woman because I'm going to snap and my anger is going to just go, whoop. And I'm going to really just like tell you some shit, like I know I have a really, really like sometimes I have to keep my own members in check because I have issues myself. I've never said I was a person with no issues. But at the end of the day, like I said, I try to love like that's the only thing I can do. And I still love even when I've been FUCK'd with no KY. And let these people come in time and time again. But this is a new year in 2024. And I'm telling everybody that might be watching this, any of my friends, if you think that I'm the same person I was a year ago, I'm not. The things that I've said I'm going to do because God told me I am more than capable of doing it if I stay obedient to him. And I will not put man or woman before my God ever again because I serve an awesome God who knows me, who has called me by name, and who can number all the hairs upon my head. And that's a lot of counting. I don't think we have a human that's been able to conquer that yet. So that just tells you about the God that we serve. And at the end of the day, his son Jesus is so awesome. He's like a really good friend to have. He's one of my big OG homies. And I talk to him just like that because I don't run from my God. Why? I mean, I never really have ran from my God. I fought him a lot. And I fought being obedient to things that I know that I heard him telling me to do, but I chose to want to will what I wanted to do into existence. When never once did I ever ask him, was that his will for my life? So at the end of the day, like I said, I just want people to know that I'm not a bitch. I got my own little crazy ways, yes, but I'm a real genuine person. And I'm so sorry that, like I said, My friend, if you're watching this, you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you, D. This is not what Jasmine did. This is what you did to yourself. And I want you to understand that, because I get so mad, but I've come to the understanding that I'm always going to be the bad guy. Let them tell it. No, I'm going to be the person that's trying to actually achieve some of the things that I say I'm going to do in my life before I hit the bucket. And I'm trying to leave an inheritance to my children's children's children, because that's what good women and men are supposed to do. And I won't do that listening to all of my homeboys, because it's like Mo3 said, everybody ain't your partner, everybody ain't your friend. And at the end of the day, I know the only friend I really need is Jesus. So, America, like I said, be kind, love yourself. But if you set rules and boundaries for yourself, do not allow yourself to allow the people that say they love you with all the love of the Lord be the reason why you start going against the grain and breaking your own rules. Because if that happens, you already know it's not too long before you're going to be all the way backslidden. And I just pray that anybody watching this that has like come a long way, especially if it's an addiction or if it's anything of that nature, don't go back to where you've already been, because you've been there before. You know what's back there. Your job is to stay focused, straight ahead, running your race with endurance, so that you can be an asset to the kingdom of God and help reconciliation back of his children to him. And I think that that is what I was called to do. That's what I'm trying to do with my life. And I'm not trying to do, that's what I'm doing with my life. I know I bless a lot of people, and a lot of people do care about me genuinely because they see the real me. And I thank those people for that. And I thank people that don't even like me, because sometimes you're the fuel that drives my car, you know? And I still pray for you, and I have no animosity towards you. No foul, no foe on my worst enemy. But like my uncle told me, when they make a rookie move, then they made a rookie ass move. And you have to deal with those consequences. So at the end of the day, though, love you guys. Love yourself, and make sure you look to the hills where your help comes from, because that's where all your blessings truly flow. God bless you, and I'll talk to you guys again. Thanks for listening.